Okay, so it appears that on the back-end dashboard where you set up your live stream on YouTube that it says this video is unavailable. My assumption was that the video would actually show up on this, letting me know that it's transcoding over to YouTube. However, that does not appear to be the case, and I actually see that a video was pushed into YouTube. I'm going to try again to open up a browser page and see if I can actually watch it in live stream. I'll probably mute it so that we're not getting duplicate sound. And trying to find the video now. Okay, that did not hit. Let's try searching for the title. Okay, so I am finding it, and it does say live now. Okay, so yep, and it looks like volume is coming through. Are we on the live side? Oh yeah, there's a bit of a delay. Yep, and it looks like volume is coming through. Are we on the live side? Oh yeah, there's a bit of a delay. So I just moved the board a second ago. I'm going to see if it comes through, or when exactly it comes through. And there it goes. Alright, so it looks like we're streaming. I'm not sure if I'm exactly happy with the quality. I'm going to have to do some tweaks. Again, my hat goes off to all live streamers out there. Tweaking OBS settings is a pain. That thing is a beast of an operating system. It gives you tons of different controls, but there's not a lot of explanation to how to best manipulate those controls, if that's a good way to put it. So you're kind of just plugging and playing settings until you find what works for you. As I mentioned earlier, I spent an entire day literally just tweaking and tuning OBS. I think I've got it now to where it works, even though I have a 6-core CPU that runs at 3.5 gigahertz, and that's well above the requirements from the Elgato HD60 streaming card that I'm using. I've had to turn its settings all the way up to have it remove as much processes from the CPU as possible, and in combination with that, I've had to turn down the frame rate as well as the output quality. So rather than being 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames per second, that was literally crashing the CPU and just giving scattered articles and breaks and pauses all throughout the video. So my conclusion from yesterday's trial and errors is that if I want to get into 1080p at 60 frames per second, it is going to take a ton of processing power. So I'm going to have to make a major computer upgrade if I want to do that. So for now, we're down in, what did we go to, 10 or 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second. And I think it bounces around in between 29 and 33. But as far as testing goes, I'm happy with where we're at. I've got currently 2 different camera angles set up. And I just have a little webcam right here in the back, and the idea behind that is putting my hand in front of it trying to see it in live, and that's not going to happen because we're on a delay. I may have to tweak those delay settings. I think it's a little too long, probably about 15-20 seconds, and I think that's because I put some delay settings on OBS, and then that's combining with YouTube. But the quality is good enough to make a strong enough video that you can see what's going on with the two different angles. I watched a lot of videos from other people that just kind of show the aerial, and sometimes I feel that it's great to get kind of that broad perspective of where the board's at. What exactly are they doing with it when they're manipulating it, because part of soldering is going to be orientation of the board and yourself and how you're working with it. I can't remember which streamer said this, but I know one of them had mentioned that you don't want to adapt to the board. This isn't the location it's going to stay in throughout the entire video. You want the board to move to what's comfortable for you. Otherwise, you're going to have the hardest time soldering. And I think that's where a lot of people aren't getting to see what manipulations are being done as a whole in order to orientate these repairs to make them easier. Because if I set it in this direction throughout the entire process of removing an HDMI, which I'm going to do in the next video here in the next few minutes, to cleaning it up, putting on a new one, I would have a nightmare of a repair. It would take 10 times as long. Alright, but I've ranted enough for this video. I'm going to go ahead and shut this one down. Again, this was just a test letting me see that the video is coming through and that it's getting a good quality without any lags other than the delays that are set. And I can move the board around. I can wiggle my fingers or the soldering iron in front of it, and you're not going to get any scatter effect to where you can't tell what's going on. And I think that part of the quality settings are there. If anyone out there that is a more seasoned and experienced user of OBS says, no, from what you've described, you should be able to kick out 1080p at 60 frames per second without, or 1980 by, that is 1080. Okay, but anyways, we're getting into resolutions, and I digress. If it is possible with that processing power to do so with an HD60 Pro, feel free to tell me what settings you recommend. I tried quite a few variations and none of them seemed to work. Oh, and one caveat just to add for people, is it took me forever of digging through other people's videos to find this out, is that yes, of course, natively it's quite transparent that OBS uses FLV file format. However, that file format doesn't work at all for streaming, recording, whatever. It, I guess, is just too intensive and requires a huge amount of processing power. Switching to MP4 resolved a lot of those issues, and I could get to 1920 by 1080. However, it would still fail every now and then. It just wasn't perfect throughout the entire stream. In order to ensure that artifacts and lags, freeze frames never happened, it was critical to reduce down to 720p and 30 frames per second. So other than that, that's all I've got for my testing phase. It's going to probably be about maybe 15-30 minutes. I am getting something weird. This must be an OBS. I'm looking now and I'm seeing there are some, on the right hand side of the screen, some orange blips that do not show on my direct HDMI output. It's almost like there's a bit of misalignment where the image is being duplicated. If you take a look at the bottom, there's a sorry, going brain dead here, but a fuse. And underneath that fuse, you can distinctly make out that shifted below is an artifact image directly below it. So it almost looks like a few millimeters below every piece, it's getting a duplication artifact. So that's interesting. That is definitely something that's being created through the stream, and I believe it's being created on the OBS end. So like I said before, there are a lot of tweaks that have to be made to this software. So it'll be a learning experience, and if anyone out there has some tips to share, feel free to post it in the comments and let me know so that I can clean this up and just make it a little bit more crisp and clear for everyone's benefit.